I'll call to order the public meeting, May 16, 2023 of the Farmington Historic District. And we'll start with the public hearing. So I'll ask the secretary to read in the notice of the public hearing.
Notice is hereby given that the Farmington Historic District Commission will hold a hybrid in-person and online public hearing on Tuesday, May 16th, 2023 at 5 p.m. in the Town Hall Council Chambers on the following application. Jeffrey Armington, application for a temporary certificate of appropriateness for a 12-foot by 18-foot three-season room expansion at 180 Garden Street. Dated at Farmington, Connecticut, this 27th day of April, 2023.
Okay, thank you. I believe the applicants are here. If someone could come up, identify yourself and your address and make a brief presentation about what it is that you're planning to do and the basis for your application.
Currently have a 85 by 18 receiving room, and we want to add another 12 feet out. Bigger room, because small rooms,
Okay, and I don't know if people brought their applications. They were sent by email, so you have them, and then they're up on there as well. Just before I ask commissioners if they have any questions, so the materials and the windows are going to match what's currently on the house.
correct. The windows are staged yet. Hatch those in front. The window right now in the living room and one in the library. The side of the door, which is the windows. So we're putting two windows on the front of the addition. And there's grates coming out on the matching grates with top. Other units saying to the flag.
And then if I can just, about how far back from the front wall of the house is the addition, would you say?
We have, I would say there's two pillars, each pillar is about 10 feet, so about 10 feet from the front of the house.
Okay. So it's just for people are remind them it's recessed.
Right now.
Yeah.
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 Yep.
Oh.
Okay, so before I continue, even though Sandy was good enough to remind me, I immediately forgot. I'm going to appoint Ted to act on this application as we are missing one of our full-time commissioners. And with that, Ted, do you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, the application says grills. The windows are going to have grills or grids, you call them.
Yeah.
Are they simulated divided light or are they grills between the glass?
Not going to be the same as.
Okay, so simulated divided light is okay. Grills between the glass is not, so. And then it said for siding, in one place it said vinyl and another place it said wood. Okay, so it's going to be wood clapboards to match what's there. Okay. And the trim boards, it said wrapped aluminum. Wood also. Okay, good. The door, it said a steel door. Okay, wood door with glass. Okay. Okay. All right, those are my only questions.
Michelle?
Thank you, Ted, for those clarifying questions. And I do walk by your home several times a week. You've done a marvelous job updating and restoring it. And I can visualize where, well, I see you can kind of see the louvers actually. I mean, it's that far back from the road. So I can visualize how the addition would fit with the rest of the house. And I really don't have any questions, primarily, the windows look like they'll match the windows that were there, so that keeps the character of the house. And really, for everything that you've done, quite frankly, I have little cause to think that I have every cause to think it's just going to continue to improve, and little cause to think that it would interfere with the general integrity of the home. You've really done a fantastic job.
Cliff?
I have to agree. I did a drive-by today that your house looks great. House looks great. In your quote, there were 4 windows. I'm assuming there's gonna be 2 facing out back. And nothing on the side.
Having decided.
Gotcha. Thank you. That's it for me.
I don't really have any questions. I was glad to see that you were matching the other parts of the house for the windows and the clapboards, and didn't realize to think about the other thing that Ted asked about. But so I'm very glad that it's going to match. I think it's going to be lovely. I just sort of regret that it's not symmetrical anymore. You know what I mean? Everything in the house is so symmetrical. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I get it. I looked at it all. It looks good. Thanks.
John Renahan, do you have any questions or comments?
Nope, no questions on my end. Thanks.
Okay, I guess I'll just add, well, that I do see in the, Ted raised the issues about the type of material. And I do see somebody actually wrote in wood over vinyl on the siding, so that's good. It does still seem to say aluminum on the other, so we can cross that out and agree that that's gonna be wood. Everything's wood, okay. Okay. Are there any buddy in the public that would like to comment on this application or ask any questions of the applicant?
If there's anyone that has called in on Zoom that wishes to speak in favor against this application, please use the raise your hand function on Zoom, and you'll be allowed to speak. Once again, if there's anyone called in about this application for 180 Garden Street that would like to speak for or against this application, please use the raise your hand function on Zoom. Mr. Chairman, there are no hands raised.
All right, thank you. Okay, hearing no additional comments, anything else? No. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the application as submitted?
I'll make a
Sure.
motion that we approve this application as submitted.
Is there a second?
Second.
There a second? Further discussion on the motion? If not, all signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Yep. Okay, so moving on to the agenda. That's it for the public hearings, right? Anything else here? Good. The next item of business is new business. And under that, we have Farmington Cultural District informal discussion to be led, thank you, by Rose Ponte. Rose?
Oh, no.
Hello.
Today, because the state of Connecticut allowed municipalities.
Oh, no.
Thank you. So, in 2019, the state legislature passed a legislation that would approve municipalities to establish cultural districts. And there are set requirements for municipalities to be able to do that. And one of the first ones is that you must work with your regional arts council. Our arts council happens to be the Greater Berkeley Arts Council. So the Economic Development Commission is taking the lead on this, and they would work with the Berkeley Arts Council with the different criteria that is necessary. So one of it almost seemed to me when I read the legislation that Farmington already had all the criteria that are there. It just seemed like a very natural thing to do. So you have to be connected, you have to be located in Connecticut. The district must have defined boundaries. And within these defined boundaries, we must have cultural needs and assets that are walkable and accessible. And the district should have public infrastructure and amenities. So, right then and there, I thought, oh my goodness, they're describing Farmington Village in a nutshell. So I called our contact over at the Rinder Harper Council just to make sure I was on the right track, and she agreed. And then I explained to her, you know, we also have wonderful assets also in Unionville. So she said that a municipality can take on various options. They can either establish more than one historical district, cultural district within the municipality. They can choose only one district and then put an asterisk on the map and say, there are these other great points, which I didn't think that no one in the economic development commission either thought that was a good idea. Or you can even go on with other municipalities, but I think within our municipality, we have more than enough to be able to do something like this. So you might ask yourself, what are the reasons? Like, why are we doing this? And it's really the state's way to help municipalities to, number one, celebrate who we are, but also to promote and highlight all the different arts and culture to all the visitors that come to Connecticut, to strengthen the distinct character of every community, to attract and draw new residents and businesses into town. That to me really spoke to me, obviously. But many times I have been visiting different companies, and they've actually told me, one company actually told me, when we're having a really great candidate and they're trying to decide which company they may choose, we have them do their lesson, in one of our trails. Because that people appreciate something like that so very much. So I can attest, just anecdotally, that is true, that we can attract more residents in these situations. It drives economic growth and expands the taxable base. It contributes also to the region and state cultural assets, and then it promotes tourism, which increases visitation, which in fact will strengthen our cultural institutions. At the fall business practice, I think Joy, you were there, and I invited the head of the Office of Culture, Arts, and Preservation, Ms. Shapiro, to speak. And during her comments that she did at breakfast, she actually talked about the cultural district. And I was surprised by the time I came back to my office after the breakfast, I had already received a call from someone from the Farmington Historical Society. I received a call from the Hillstead Museum, from Stanley. They're like, Rose, are you going to do that? And I said, I've been thinking about it, but I guess now it's time to stop thinking and start acting on it. So what are the initial steps that we have to take? So the first thing is really to hold a community meeting. Before I held the community meeting, I thought it was important to come and visit new folks to get your feedback. I also went to the Unionville Historic District Commission to get their feedback. And the very first step would then be, if you guys are agreeable, and give me positive comments and you think we should go on, is really to schedule a community meeting. We're hoping to schedule one in mid-June, and all that is going to be is exactly what I'm doing with you today, telling you about it, and then really asking people from our community to give the response and give us their ideas or suggestions. Do they want a cultural district? Do they not want that? Things of that nature. Then, if that goes well, then we go before the town council, and they actually have to vote to approve having a cultural district. And then once that is done, we then would appoint an advisory committee, the cultural district advisory committee. You have to have a minimum of 6 members. We would probably have more than that because we would want representation from both Farmington Historic District and Unionville. How many we don't know yet, and again, that's something to talk about also at the community meeting. To tell people about it and say, is anyone interested? The state has pretty set definition of who has to be in this cultural district, but again, it's something that is evolving. We want to make it our own. And how many people should be on this committee? What are their goals? What are we trying to accomplish? And so that's some of those initial steps. The tasks that need to be completed, and that's something Garrett and I are working on, and more so really with input from the community and input from people right here. Because originally the Economic Development Commission had imagined or had thought in our discussions that we could do one district. And almost say they described it as a barbell. So one circle would be in Unionville, and then Route 4 would be like the middle part of the barbell, and the other circle would be in the village. But seeing that that would be a really long walkable district. And I think that perhaps the state, because the last part of this is once we establish everything and we propose it, the state actually, people from the Department of Economic and Community Development, the State Office of Historic Preservation, and representatives from the State Office of the Arts, we will give them a tour and they will walk the district. So if they think it's too long, or they may say, no, this is going to work for us. So in thinking about all of that, Garrett was nice enough to start working on some maps. I don't know if Garrett, if you have them.
We got the Farmington one.
Oh, okay, thank you. So this would be, if you look at the monitor, all the little areas in the pink and with all the different colors, the green is a cultural institutions, we have the freedom trail. That would be the village cultural district, Farmington Village. I actually parked my car at Parsons and walked up High Street, past Sandy Whitman, made a left, went up to the hillside, came out of the hillside, went all the way down, went to the quarters, the Barney Library. I walked all the way up to the Farmington Historical Society cottages, and then went up to Lewis Mall Park. That might be the whole district, but even that might be too long, but we don't have to do the whole walking tour, but then we come back down Main Street and then finish off like an apartment baby is, what I envision. But that's one of the first tasks we have as a community. Should we have one large district? Should we have two separate districts? So that's one thing. The second task is to inventory all our different cultural assets, so we sure we have them all, and make sure that it includes cultural facilities, it includes artistic spaces, creative businesses, historical sites, and also including cultural activities or events. And we have to make a list of those and prepare it for the application. And then lastly, if you actually create a map of the district and include all those different assets on that map. And then the last part is we prepare the tour and walk. And throughout the whole process, our representative community, Amber Roy from the Art and Arts Council, she will be helping us and assisting, and she'll actually, I asked her if she would be at the community meeting, and she said that she would, and she's penciling some dates for us. So in essence, that's the big overview. I'd love to get your comments, to see if you think it's a good idea, and any questions that you may have.
Great. John Renahan, do you want to start? Do you have any questions for Rose?
I think he's
Mr. Renahan,
dropped.
leave
Oh.
right after the public hearing.
He chatted
Oh, I
through
missed it.
through a
Okay.
chat message.
In that case, go ahead.
Sounds like a great idea, I think. You have those maps that you made with Betty Kuykendall?
Yes.
Yeah, so you're already like,
I'm already practically there.
You got Betty to.
what's in it for the Historical Society, say? What's in it for Hillstead?
I think what's in it is really having the state designation that they're a cultural district, and that designation comes with, as if you remember, it was said there's no money per se in the budget to give to cultural districts, but the state is putting a pretty big emphasis on this and on tourism in general. You may have heard some inklings that in the governor's proposed budget, we almost doubled the tourism money, and a lot of that is going towards a new marketing campaign that is marketing the whole state. They actually, if you happen to go and fly out of New York, out of Kennedy, out of Newark, out of Grand Central, you will see currently ads for the state of Florida. It's a pretty big push and a very concentrated advertising campaign, and these cultural districts are part of that campaign. So any municipality that has signed on and goes through the process and is accepted as a cultural district, they have told us that they will be included in this extra promotion and marketing that the state is doing.
Sounds good.
So it's more visitors, it's more people getting to know that we have a great moving trail. And it's really to strengthen those cultural districts and get a little bit more exposure for them and the normal that we get, even though most people really do know us, history and that's.
Cliff?
Sounds great. I mean, so many things are here already.
Yeah.
Why not take advantage of it?
I have really three thoughts. Farmington is quite conveniently located off the highway. So, you know, that's kind of a positive when you think about where it can sit, you know, in a state marketing campaign, number one. Number two, how many years ago now is it, Jay, when the Historical Society, maybe three, unless I date myself more, but it was 3 or 4 years ago, and really what you're describing, essentially the Historical Society more or less replicated over the course of a day, and kind of opened up she's just about everything that yeah. And no,
You did the arts tour, the Horse, I did the arts tour. It was in connection with the Farmington art exhibit. They had a day, I think it was,
it was in June. It was June 2nd, if my
trying to
memory
give
serves.
props to the, I can't believe her name about that. Anyway, yes.
Yeah, and
B, thank you.
yeah.
B, Stockwell was behind.
She was she was kind of the engineer. And but it really the receptivity was as I recall, extraordinarily high and well received. And the downtown area was bustling, and it really included several things over the course of a day. So I can see the merits of those thoughts. The third comment I'm going to make, and actually the couple that was just here, where you talk about the two districts, he has a trolley sitting in his backyard. Yeah, I'm guessing he's restoring it. I don't know, you know, I mean, I can only see it when I walk. But there are towns, I'm not familiar with any in this state, but I'm specifically thinking of another area where a trolley will, you know, take people to connect from one area to the next. It's, you know, you can't do that every day, all day, but you can certainly plan for that. So just those are my three thoughts. Obviously, with those three thoughts, I'm thinking that it's a very positive step forward, and yeah, see where it goes.
I love it.
Yeah, except for like there's, you know, Route 4. Yeah, like it's kind of,
Difficult.
well, it's, you know, they're like there's nothing to point to, you know, like.
Actually, probably having two districts within the municipality could really work well. Because each district has its own assets and are very special and unique to each individual area. And there's nothing to stop us from doing an arts day in Farmington and having a trolley and saying, look, we have two cultural districts. And yet, with the two different districts, there are some people in the state who might spend the day visiting the regional district and then come back and spend the day in the village. So, I think, I know that Aaron and I, when we were trying to map it out, we have, what a great problem to have. We have so many assets that we're like, oh no, we can't do it in one. We have to have the two. So I do think that, having the two is what I would imagine most people would agree with. But again, that's the type of feedback.
Listen,
Yeah, yep.
Ted?
Sounds like a great idea. I think it'll help some of the smaller institutions like Stanley Whitman and the Union Museum and the Historical Society that don't get the exposure like Hillstead might. So I think it's a great idea.
So I'll throw in my thoughts and 2 cents too. First of all, yeah, I mean, it's a no-brainer if it's going to be a way to attract more people and make more people aware of the incredible assets that both Unionville and Farmington have. I think 2 is fine. I would say it dawned on me while you were saying that we do have the wonderful bike trail, which literally can take you all the way down.
Oh, yeah.
Now, it can't be the death march here, though. We can't say you have to do the whole thing in one day. So I get that too. But I mean, if we were selling it at some point, you could at least point out to people you could do both, whether it's on your bike or whatever. You know, I'll ask, I think what Joanne was alluding to a little bit in a different way, which is, are there any responsibilities or burdens placed on either the town or on these institutions if they're part of this district?
No, not that I can make aware of. And again, Amanda will be here, we can ask her that question in public in case anyone else has that. From my understanding, we're not obligated in any way to do public financial. The only thing, our obligation is to make sure that we form an advisory commission. So maybe of the economic development committee, and that maybe is made up according to the standards that the state has prescribed, and that they set up goals and they set up, you know, things that they think they would do in order to continue to promote that. The biggest lift from what Amanda has explained to me is really getting the food and making sure that we're doing everything. I envision it as a way, for example, Unionville is having an event, I believe in June, and we're doing a little walk of Lovely Street.
Right.
Yeah. On Lovely Street, and one of the people on that committee, he was able to find a walking path. I know that Farmington Historical Society had an intern do their tour, and Explore Farmington has a walking tour too. But this particular one is really heads above like what Explore Farmington has. I'm not as familiar with the Farmington Historical Society one, but it's much more user friendly. It really is a lot more information. It helps you as you're doing the walking tour. The information is wonderful, but there's a cost to it. And so one of the things that in the Economic Development Commission is talking about, we do have a budget. And I think this has become, you know, I envision it as being some of the activities that we do for economic development. And for example, Ion Bank has been a very generous sponsor of Explore Farmington. And so they have sponsored it for 2 years and just signed up for another 2 years. I can see this type of, you know, saying that we are a cultural district. This is what we want to do. We want to plan a full day with a trolley and have all of that, and then go to one of our banks or one of our businesses, or even use the budget from economic development. If this is a plan that is something that this advisory committee is behind and is going to plan, I can see them being able to use that budget to do that. And
Great.
I also see an opportunity for cooperative advertising, for maybe putting beautiful banners, advertising the cultural district. Right now we have flowers, which are beautiful, but those flowers, many times the storms and everything really rip them apart. But when I go to New York City, if you're there for the marathon, there are banners advertising the marathon where they completely change. I can really see having define visuals that say you are entering the Farmington Historic District. And having it done in a very, understatement, but visually appealing way, and just, I think it informs the body, which then can be in charge of these things. We don't really have many events here in town that is done by town commissions. And so those are some of the things I'm envisioning.
Would this advisory board be a town of Farmington board?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, it's actually an advisory board of the Economic Development
Okay.
Commission. Because there were two ways you could do it. You could either to its own commission, which then it would really be, I think we have to pass an ordinance to approve the new commission. I think part of the advisory of the PPC, then that was a very easy way to do it. But not only that, because it requires the town council to approve this by a resolution, then it becomes a town of Farmington.
and then the other thought I had, I won't, as a lawyer, dive too deep in the weeds, which my head immediately goes to. Is this, so that is you're saying we're using the word district and then we're talking about organization. So is it a geographical area that has to be contiguous, or is it several organizations? What exactly would you say is the district, if you will?
So, circle, if you look at the map that Garrett drew, it's supposed to have defined boundaries.
Okay,
And in those defined boundaries should be a cluster of cultural and artistic and historic activities, institutions, even creative businesses, and that's the defined district. So it could be that there are going to be one or two, possibly different artistical, maybe an artist has a studio that's outside of the district that we don't know about what happens after. But this is almost like your district.
the historic district.
It has defined boundaries. Well, not really. You guys are volunteering, right? You guys, people volunteer to be in.
Well, you opt in, but it's not a definitive. There are properties within the district, within the, what you would consider to be the boundaries that aren't in it, but that's,
Okay.
so,
So
and-
this does ask for defined boundaries. And this is the Torrington one, if you look at.
Okay.
this. So the very first district was Richfield, and the second
Wow.
district, that was,
Very familiar with Richfield.
yes. Yeah, it was the very first district.
Yeah.
They did it right at the beginning of COVID. And they worked on it and worked on it, and it did, it was all over the papers, and it was really a thing. That's when I first heard about it. And then, prior to being in Farmington, I was the economic development director in Torrington. And Torrington is a pretty depressed municipality, and yet our arts in the downtown were our assets. So like any good economic developer, you leverage your assets and try to limit your liabilities. So there I was using the arts really as my economic driver. So we did an awful lot of things. And so after I left, all those things, we established a kids museum, we established a fabulous art gallery. We already have the Warner and the Nutmeg Ballet. So I was thrilled when the second district in the state was in Torrington. So the Torrington district, if you can do that again, sorry, Garrett, I have more on the place. But in the Torrington district, you'll notice they have the boundaries. And it's a pretty big district, but it's compact.
Mhm.
It's really on the main street and on Water Street. And they have some, some that are up north of it. But so they did a pretty big district, and the way they did their tour, I think they pretty much tried to settle in the most compact. So again, the defined borders is something I'm sure we'll have a lot of discussions about to make sure we do.
right. Can historic properties be considered part of this? Oh, okay. Oh, and you're all set there, that's for sure. I think you can have plenty of, on your list, you have a very long list of organizations and buildings. Well, I don't have anything else. I don't have anyone else wants to add on after some of this discussion. I mean, I personally, and I think you've heard the consensus appears to be that if you guys think 2 is the best, that we certainly would agree. And I think so far I've heard everybody seems to agree that this is definitely something worth pursuing. We look forward to seeing some progress.
Second week of June, they, I'm thinking about maybe having a community meeting here. Maybe at 5 o'clock. How do you guys think of that? Do you think that's?
I think that's graduation week.
Yeah, it's graduation. It's the 16th, I believe, is graduation.
Is that Juneteenth? What day is Juneteenth?
Is that weekend?
It's the 19th.
Okay, okay.
All
right, so
following month.
graduation is Friday. I mean, graduation involves, 300 families, but the town is much bigger than that. I just was thinking of that.
No, the graduation, I called, and it's on the 16th. Yeah. So I would stay away from that tape. First of all, the parking lot is horrible. Yeah. So I don't know. If any-
Yeah, right.
Sure. Yeah. for sure. But I don't know if they're doing- So I was thinking earlier, I was like, kind of something that.
Oh, yeah.
And we were out here or possibly out.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
We'll definitely try to make it. Yeah, let us know the date as soon as you can. Okay. Great. How are you going to let people know that this is going on?
So, not like I did for the Gateway and the Village Committee, I do have a nice list of people that receive our emails. So I'll be doing that in the email, making sure that I put in, please tell your friends, invite everyone. So we'll do that.
Okay.
I'll get, I've already talked to the reporter, press, hopefully the story, I'll put something in the patch. And, much like I do my practice, I start sending out like a weekly invite. And so usually 4 weeks of the charm.
Okay, great.
And so tell all your friends, put on your Facebook page, we'll do a Facebook and Instagram postings on it as well.
You got it covered.
Yeah, we have that all on great support from us. So we seem to get.
It does do a good job.
Not all, but, I think what, people can help with the budget. This is more fun.
That's not a bad thing.
Sure, it's more than 2.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Rose. Great. All right.
Yeah, you
too.
too.
You too. It was very, very interesting. So trying to move along, but there are several things that we wanted to briefly mention and or discuss, but one under the other business or staff report is the expansion for the historic district. We want to remind people that we have one property that wants to get in and they're ready to kick that off. I don't know if anybody has had an opportunity to identify or ask anybody. I did talk to one person and I'm not expecting a positive response. We're not going to give names. And another person I owe a call to, but I know they're ready to get going. So again, I know it's hard, but if you have anybody in mind or you could bring some more names, that would be, I know, appreciated by the staff, as it is a lot of work, and the more we can do at one time. And of course, obviously has a great positive impact for Farmington and the district. Anything else on that, Garrett?
No, I was gonna say, I know, forget who the email's from, is either you or Jim, wondering about gaps in the district.
Yeah, those are the ones I
Okay.
tried to identify. There were two. I did not get to one of them. I got to one of them and they're very good, and I'm not going to push too hard, but.
Right, so I was just gonna point out to everyone, so if you go to
Oh, you're gonna, good, okay,
yeah,
good,
I was-
excellent. Oh, okay,
so if
good.
you go to the town website, there's a little magnifying glass in the corner. You can click on GIS mapping. This is just some more information about it. Access GIS mapping. There's a disclaimer, interactive mapping. It's all these steps. And that'll bring you to the town view, and you can scroll into the Farmington historic area. You can turn on, if you go to map layer and historic districts, all of the homes that are in the district currently are shown in purple, except for our 2 most recent additions, because this file has been uploaded yet. And then you can go to aerial photos as well. You can look, zoom in, zoom into areas where there's gaps in the purple. And then you can click on some of them, you can kind of tell. It'll tell you who the property owner is as well, when you click on it. So obviously a lot is owned by Miss Porter's at this point. But there's some others on Mill Street probably and Maiden Lane. I think Maiden Lane has a few that have a historic resource inventory as well. I was trying to put together a map for you. I didn't have it done in time with showing all the homes that are part of that, the historic inventory from the 50s.
Oh,
60s, just to kind of give you an idea of what's a historic home with showing the historic district. You can kind of get a better idea of who might be a good spot to. I know that's a little better over here, but
so yeah, so people have time to look at it or know properties that they think might be appropriate. I mean, look, so I just for what it's worth, when I speak with people, like most things you're trying to sell, I usually lead, and that's why I sincerely said, particularly to this one potential applicant, I said, you can get up to 30% back on the improvements that you do. There's this SHPO grant program. It's really a tax credit thing, but they get the money for you. You don't have to actually go out and sell your tax credit. But you can get up to, I think $100,000, you get 30% back. So you get $30,000 back. So you put your property in and, everybody needs a roof, everybody needs painting, and all this kind of stuff is covered. There's other things that are covered, I think, including interior, some stuff. So it's a great thing. And I think, that's one way to sell it. Then of course it's the right thing to do. We can all see as we walk around Farmington, the value that's been created by this district and how it's protected, really, and just an incredible streetscape that is really unique, probably nationally, let alone Farmington or Connecticut. So at any rate, I'm happy to make a pitch if anybody thinks there's anybody that might be interested, if you want to give me a name. But let's make one more shot at it and then we can get the town going. Well, at least get this one other person who probably wants the SHPO grant, get that going so they can get their thing done. Okay. All right. Two things I wanted to mention, then we'll do the minutes, and then I'm going to ask Garrett if there's anything else, but I sent around the 168 Coppermine Road. I guess that's still out for approval for a subdivision, but at any rate, quite interesting barn. I didn't see it on the, it's funny, I went to Connecticut Barns, I don't know if anybody's aware of that. It's a website. And they've inventoried an awful lot of barns in Connecticut, and it wasn't on that one. There were a couple of others on Coppermine. And I actually just shot them out an email just saying, hey, are you aware of this barn? And, do you know that there's a demolition permit request? Again, unfortunately, I don't think there's much we can do, but if anybody's interested in seeing it before it comes down, it's not something that would be movable, I don't think, nor I can understand why it's not really something that could be converted to residential use. Not that I even know what the subdivision plan is. Maybe that's where the road is as well, but and unfortunately is in a pretty serious disrepair, but it's fascinating. I don't know anything about it. I'd love to know more. You can't really see it off of the road. I never really paid attention to it, but it's just as you're on Coppermine, a little before you hit Plainville Ave on the right. So you're interested in, go check it out. It's pretty, there's a little tiny road there. Hopefully they're not upset if we drive in there for a second and take a peek at it, but at any rate, if you had some kind of concern, there is a process. The notice tells you what to do, but you can let the town know. And there's a potential ability to delay demolition a little bit for somebody to try to find a way to, move it, protect it, convince the owner not to tear it down.
Is the house already gone?
There's no house.
There used to be a house near it.
I would assume so. That's what I was trying to figure out.
I looked
couldn't
back
see
at my old pictures. I think the approval for the new building or whatever was in 2015, because I have a picture of a house and
Oh, you do?
that barn, but from the outside. I didn't go right in close.
Do you know, is it Apprentice? Apprentice didn't do anything on this, did they? Or I couldn't find it. I looked for it. So I couldn't find any information, but I don't know. No.
What was the question?
Whether there's any kind of historical, it's one of the historical papers that you can read about the farm, or just more out of curiosity than anything else. It has. Okay. I thought I saw it on the agenda again, but
and it's an extension to have all the subdivision documents.
Okay. Okay. All right, so anything else on that? And then the other thing I wanted to mention was just to thank Shannon
Yeah.
and the patience of the town, but also the resiliency to keep going after this. But apparently, and I haven't seen it yet, I will go by it. They have, the Harper Baking Company has finally put on a new door. Has anybody seen it?
I looked at it.
It look good.
It looks great.
Excellent. That's what I wanted to hear.
Right.
There you go.
Looks good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very similar to what was originally there.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
Crossbuck bottom, and it's not or a Dutch door, but I don't think that really matters.
I mean, it's such a better door for a business too. You can see and you're not clocking people in the head with the door and. Well, at any rate, thank you, and we'll consider this closed, although the town does whatever it does.
I did.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we're. Okay. Yes, I mean, no one has any objection to no, okay. Great, thank you again. That's all I wanted to bring up or remember to bring up. And Garrett, is there anything else that the staff or anybody wanted to mention today?
All I had was the Harper Baking Company door, so no.
Oh, I beat you to it, sorry. Okay, in that case, the last item on the agenda is the minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of the April 18 meeting? I did look at them. I thought they looked fine.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the April 18th, 2023 meeting.
I'll
Second,
second
I
that.
have a second. Further discussion on the minutes? Any, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Great, thank you. With that, meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody.